The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network. Welcome in to the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today. Coming up, head coach Brian Kelly discusses the week ahead for LSU Fighting Tiger football. But first, from inside the Capital One LSU Sports Radio Network studios, here are former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Good Monday morning as we head up to the noon hour. It's the Brian Kelly Press Conference presented by ASAP, hanging out here in the Capital One studios. Still celebrating a big win for LSU. First conference win of the season, first SEC win for Coach Brian Kelly, and a great night, a great game to take in. 31-16. LSU now makes it 2 in a row over Mississippi State with the win on Saturday night. Again, the Tigers move to 2-1 on the season. I always say it, the always important 1-0 start in SEC play. And Gordy Rush, we said really all last week, on this show last week, leading up to the game, always important to get a leg up early in the SEC, certainly in the SEC West. And many think after 2 or 3 weekends of SEC play that maybe the SEC West could be up for grabs in 2022. Of course, time will tell, and there's plenty of football left to be played. But again, back to what I thought was a great performance. And, you know, we're going to talk about the entirety of the game before we hand it off to Coach Brian Kelly at 12 noon. But I wanted to start with defense because we talked about it Saturday night as the game progressed. Obviously, the SEC today took note as well. B.J. Ojulari named a little less than an hour ago Defensive Lineman of the Week in the SEC. And Jay Ward, no surprise, Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC. And I thought outside of a couple of early missed tackles, the tackling got better. The scheme from Matt House seemed to be a perfect recipe against this air raid assault. And LSU got after Will Rogers, who, again, came into the game completing nearly 80% of his passes through 2 games. He started the game 10 of 11, then finished 14 of 31 after that. Again, 24 for 42 on the game, 57% completion. There were some bad passes, rush passes. There were some drop passes. But it was because LSU's defense was disruptive to the air raid on Saturday night.
Chris, I'll take 2 steps back and even go a little further and say the improvement that this team has made in 2 weeks from the opener against Florida State with a new defensive coordinator. You've got new personnel, transfers, and so forth in this lineup. A lot of new freshman faces playing in the top 22 on the defensive side of the football. And the mistakes they've been able to clean up from the Florida State game and get right against Mississippi State, and one of the better schemes and one of the better play callers in college football. Fantastic improvement over the 2 weeks. Really, really impressed with what Matt House did. And it wasn't a vanilla defense. I mean, this was a pro-style defense with a lot of different looks, a lot of different moving pieces, substitution packages. Really well done by Matt House and company.
Yeah, you mentioned the personnel pieces. Obviously, we knew late in the week going into the game Saturday, they wanted Jay Ward to be maybe at times closer to the line of scrimmage. So he goes from that safety position to really the nickel back in this defense. They moved Greg Brooks to the safety position. And, well, I guess if you're just judging on Saturday night, worked well for Jay Ward and LSU. Again, Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC, tied a career-high 11 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and really sealed the win with his 6th career interception when Mississippi State had to put the ball in the air to move down the field. They went long, relatively long, for that offense, and Ward able to just take it away and seal the game.
Oh, fantastic. And he's shown his versatility. He started at cornerback when he came to LSU, and they moved him to safety. But moving Jay Ward to that nickel position got him closer to the football, and that's important against Mississippi State because of his physicality and his ability to diagnose plays, especially the slip screens and all those flare routes to the running back, how involved he was in that quick game that Mississippi State likes to run. He was fantastic and, again, led to 11 tackles.
And I really like the secondary as a whole in their tackling on Saturday night. Again, they have to get them down. You can't allow a 3-yard completion to become a 15, 25, or 30-yard completion. And I thought all around the guys out on the corners and down the field did a great job of tackling when the play was made. But I want to talk about B.J. Ojulari because, again, I haven't had a chance to watch the film again. I'll do that later today. But just watching him in real time, he was whipping the offensive front for Mississippi. I mean, he got home on, I think he got a sack and a half, but he was home a number of times. And as the game wore on, you saw Rodgers again get a little happy feet, maybe release it quicker than he wanted to. A couple of times he threw the football so hard, I'm not sure anybody could catch it. And that was all due to that pressure, and B.J. was a big part of it.
He was throwing off of his back foot. He was rushing things, and, again, that's because the LSU defense was so effective. Look, what's really impressive about Ojulari to me is the flexibility, the versatility that they're using him now. You remember 2019 when he started, he was just an edge rusher. They brought him down on that NASCAR, that third down package, and he came off the edge. And he's playing the jack linebacker, and he does some of that. He also plays in space. But Chris, what really jumped out at me in this game, looking at the replay of the game, is that Ojulari at times would line up in the middle of the football field as an inside linebacker, and they'd bring him in between the guards and the tackles, not off the edge. And against Southern, Harold Perkins Jr. came in, played the jack linebacker, was an edge rusher because Ojulari was out, because Gay was out. And this game, they played him primarily as an inside linebacker. So that's something that's characteristic of NFL defenses, that a lot of different looks. And because of that, Mississippi State really struggled, I think, on identification and being able to know where people are, and they weren't able to protect quite as well as they did in the first quarter.
We talk about the versatility of Ojulari, and you said it. Harold Perkins, also true freshman, again, highly touted, but his versatility of being able to do those multiple roles and impact a game have been impressive early on.
You have to know where he is on the football field. As fast as Perkins is, as fast as Ojulari are, those are people that usually I want to get a defender help, or rather a blocker help. You need to run a double at Ojulari. I'm more prone to run a double at Ojulari, say, than Gay, who's more of a traditional defensive end player that isn't as quick as a rusher. And you start moving those guys around. Will Rogers has got to be able to identify. It's harder for Mike Leach, who wants to run a little bit of tempo, to slow things down now, to identify where the problem areas are.
Again, LSU winning 31-16. They'll be back at home this Saturday, taking on the Lobos of New Mexico. We're going to take a break here, get you ready for Coach Kelly coming up at high noon. We'll talk about New Mexico. We'll touch on the offense, who I thought really, again, after maybe a slow start, once they were able to kind of get a hold defensively and force some miscues and force some 3-and-outs for Mississippi State, then we started to see the tempo, and then we started to see, of course, QB1 Jaden Daniels shine. We'll talk about that and much more, leading you up to the Brian Kelly press conference presented by ASAP right here after this quick break.
Albertsons is making shopping and saving easier than ever. Check out Albertsons For You in our mobile app, where you can shop for groceries and save weekly with digital coupons all in one place. With Albertsons For You, you can earn rewards points every time you shop and redeem them for free groceries. Brand new Albertsons For You members receive $5 off their next $25 purchase just for signing up. Download the Albertsons app or go to albertsons.com to sign up. Albertsons, fresh food, local flavors.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
He's got a seam. He's down the near side hash.
Tiger fans, if you've ever wanted to listen to the LSU Sports Radio Network while watching your Fighting Tigers on TV, now you can, and it's easy to do.
Just pause the TV. Use the LSU Sports mobile app to stream the audio on your smartphone or tablet. Connect to a smart speaker, then wait for the audio to catch up to the point your TV is paused. Push play, and you are all set.
Watch the Tigers and listen with the LSU Sports Radio Network and the LSU Sports mobile app.
15-10, 5, touchdown! Tigers!
In the SEC, we sweat the small stuff. The attention to tradition. The preparation for competition. The smallest things can have the biggest impact on this field and a whole host of other fields. To shine among the brightest stars, you have to sweat the small stuff. Because here, it just means more.
Coach Kelly is just moments away from previewing the week for the Fighting Tigers. This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Once again, here are Gordy and Chris.
Keeping our eye on the Lawton Room, our video feed into the Lawton Room.
Yes.
Be ready when Coach Kelly takes to the podium. Don't want to miss a single word, so keep you posted on that. Again, Tiger fans, make sure download the ASAP app. Get all of your game day needs delivered right to your door. ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. We talked defense in the first segment, Gordy. Defense, let's talk offense a little bit. Jaden Daniels again, really great night at the office. 22 of 37, 59% completion, a couple of off passes. Some hitting the hands, but overall 210 yards, did throw for a passing touchdown. A great touchdown, by the way, for Jeray Jenkins, who just fought his way into the end zone. Jaden rushes 93 yards, gets his second rushing touchdown of the year. But I want to start with Malik Neighbors because he's just incredible to watch. Wherever he is on the field, he had a great night, 6 catches, 76 yards, targeted on 7 times Saturday night. And that one drive converted all 3 of the third downs. And then the 4th and 3 he converts that sets up eventually Williams' score. And, sometimes we overuse the term, a matchup nightmare.
Yes.
But, I mean, he's just got the skill set, the power, the speed, the vision. He's just tough to cover.
Reminds me a little bit of Jarvis Landry when he was here at LSU as a mismatch problem in the slot. One, he's very quick and is able to get off the jam. And as you mentioned, he's physical with the defensive back. And so what happens when LSU's going 3 or 4 wides, he's always in the slot, and he's drawing a safety in man coverage or a nickel. So that's usually the third best cover guy. I mean, you've got Boutte out there that's a problem to begin with, a projected first-round pick. On the other side, if it's Jenkins or Brian Thomas, you need size. So you're getting the third best defensive coverage guy, and Neighbors is so elusive. He ran an out route and converted a third down on that possession. He ran a little rub route, a choice route, if you will. He was able to convert the next one. Mississippi State came up tight. The defender wanted to play bump and run and sit on the sticks. They ran right by him on the fade. It was a great 4th and 3 call.
Jaden Daniels targeted 10 receivers on the night, connected with 8 different players in the game. In the running game, we saw the return of John Emory, which everybody loves to see. Had 11 carries for 32 yards. There were a couple of plays where he was a step or 2 away from getting a big play, big chunk yards. Armani Goodwin, 9 carries, 76 yards, had the final blow to the Bulldogs with that 47-yard fourth-quarter touchdown. The running game, I think, the numbers are not going to knock you over. And I'm sure Coach Kelly's going to talk about it, Gordy, that we've got to be able to improve running the football. But in that particular game where LSU won the turnover battle 2-1, gives them an extra possession, and the time of possession, which Coach Kelly said all week was key against this particular team, LSU wins that 32-42 to 27-18. In that third quarter and fourth quarter, we saw the running game just wear Mississippi State down, and LSU was able to become more of a clock-controlled offense. They didn't have to rely on tempo, and to me, that was a good sign because we know what they can do when they go fast. But the ability to, hey, we need to burn some clock, and we can do it in the running game because we wore this team down, I think is at least a good step forward.
Yeah, that was a great step forward. If you would have told me in the fourth quarter that LSU got out of their tempo package and went to a check with me, an audible package, went deep in the play clock and were running the football and controlling the pace of the game against Mike Leach and Zach Arnett, who's playing at 335, that wants to blitz people, I've been very surprised with that. And that shows you just how dominant LSU was in the second half, that they were able to do it. Look, when you look at the final statistics, I think the one thing, if I'm Coach Kelly, and maybe he talks about this a little bit, is I don't know that I want my quarterback running for 107 yards each and every week when you get in the SEC play. A little bit more balance, and hopefully, some of that's scrambling naturally, and Daniels is so elusive, and you want him to continue to do that. I think as this young offensive line continues to mature and this offense continues to find its identity, you're going to see a better LSU running attack with the running backs sharing more of the load.
Speaking of young offensive line, shout out Will Campbell, Emory Jones Jr., first true freshman offensive tackles to start. really they think in school history. They feel pretty good about it.
I think so.
They really, the records after before 1985 are a little hard to come by, but I have under a good authority. Todd Polites, who,
yes.
Gordy, I know you've seen him. He has those giant leather-bound books with all the stats.
He's got the gospel.
He says maybe since World War II, the World War II era. So I think it's pretty close. But anyway, they both perform well. Special teams real quick, kind of a mixed bag. I thought Jay Bramlett punted the ball very well for the most part, had a 45-yard average. Ramos had the 35-yard field goal. He did kick one out of bounds. There were some, returns for Mississippi State in the kick game that I'm sure they're concerned about. But I do got to give a shout-out to Emory Jones, who I was stunned to see was down there making a play in special teams. And how about Slade Roy? Yes. Snaps the football on the punt, goes down the field. Austin Williams mishandles it at the 10. He recovers it, which was a big, maybe the play of the game that turned the tide.
And just having played a little bit of special teams, you recognize something like that and just how well that was executed. And that Roy ran right in front of the returner, pulled up 2 yards short before he got to that halo, and there were 5 Tigers that surrounded the punt returner in case that happened. Punt returner dropped the ball. Roy fell on it. Look, they're new specialists. They're going to be things to clean up. For me, I think it's cleaning up the coverage units. And this day and age, especially kickoffs, you have the opportunity to just kick the ball into the stands and kick it out there, as you don't want to give any return teams any extra opportunity. I'm sure the improvements that this coaching staff has made game to game, they'll clean that up this week against New Mexico.
Enjoy the victory, and Tiger fans did on Saturday night and Sunday morning, 31-16 over Mississippi State to move 1-0 in early SEC play. Again, coming up in just a few moments, we'll head to the Lawton Room with head coach Brian Kelly. He's going to be talking about, among other things, the New Mexico Lobos, who come in Saturday for a 6:30 kickoff. 2-1 are the Lobos. Danny Gonzalez in his third season, former player, walk-on, and then an assistant coach before being the safeties coach at San Diego State. And the last 2 years before he came back to New Mexico was the DC at Arizona State. Gordy, they beat Maine 41-0 at home, 31-14 loss to Boise State, 27-10 win this past Saturday over UTEP. And the thing that stands out about that is all 3 games at home. This is their first road game, and they're coming to Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night in Death Valley.
This is a massive rebuilding job that Danny Gonzalez inherited from Bob Davie, who was in New Mexico for a number of years, and being familiar with that state certainly been helpful. But this was the absolute last-ranked offense in college football a year ago, and they needed 7 turnovers against UTEP to win that game 27-10. One of them was a pick 6, so they're trying to find an identity on the offensive side of the football. It should be another good night for the LSU defense.
Again, you try to get an idea, and it's hard, and it's always hard this time of year when you're looking at a 41-0 ball game, the win for New Mexico. Boise State, you kind of know you're always going to have a good team. A competitive team. UTEP, always hard to tell. Again, they won 27-10. Kind of a balanced offense, but again, those numbers could be inflated. It's kind of hard to get a read on what this Lobos team is going to be all about.
Yeah, they've struggled at the quarterback position. Well, I mean, they've struggled offensively. They were 35 yards lower than the second last ranked offense a year ago in total offense. I believe Colorado was the second last ranked. So that's how off they were a year ago. It's been a little bit of a mess, but New Mexico, and we want to show some love to former LSU assistant AD Eddie Nunez, who's over there doing a nice job with it. I think he's got the right guy that knows about recruiting in that state and knows what's necessary to get back to where this program was under Rocky Long, who had really done, the old head coach did a nice job and had New Mexico as a competitive football team. They do a much better job on defense and offense. The tough task for them to come into Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, I think it is a good hire when you look at Danny Gonzalez, and I mentioned his background because he's been in Pac-12 area, Pac-10 soon to be, but he's been in that area so he can recruit Southern California, also Arizona, Nevada, and of course, as you say, know the ground in New Mexico. You look at him, about 126 yards through the air per game, about 160 on the ground. Miles Kendrick's been their quarterback. He's thrown 64 times. He's completed 36 through 3 ball games. Has thrown 3 touchdowns, but also 3 INTs. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, work in progress here as Coach Kelly steps up here, not running the football. They want to about 70 yards per game out of their top 2 backs, and that's against three teams that they should compete with. So it's going to be, again, a tough task for them against the Tigers. Let's hear from our head coach. Here's Brian Kelly.
Some individual performances have already been highlighted. SEC accolades, obviously, you guys are aware of. Jay Ward, B.J. Ojolari, defensive back and defensive lineman player of the week in the SEC. We're proud of their accomplishments and like to note those accordingly when those kinds of performances are highlighted. It's very difficult to be a player of the week in this conference, and we'd like to give them due notice when they are outstanding performances like that. You know, as a team, obviously, any victory in the SEC is a great victory. You know, the way we came back in the second half, I think the overall performance from our defense from start to finish was outstanding, and then we rallied offensively and executed much better down the stretch. We'll look to certainly improve on the offensive performance and its consistency for 4 quarters, and continue to work on consistency in the special teams game. But, you know, I really liked I think physically and mentally how our guys stayed with it the entire game. You know, the sense on the sideline for me was really good, that our team was at no time anxious, panicking, didn't believe that they were going to find a way to win the football game. So that's it's a very good trait to have moving forward, and we'll look to build on that. As we move forward now, getting another home game, excited to be, in Tiger Stadium again for a 3rd consecutive week. But now we have to look towards persistence and consistency. Looking at a football team now that has a chance to be a good team, you have to have consistency, and that means coming back after a good win and putting together a complete performance. And so that is mental and physical, and that is in how they prepare. So we start that preparation today. We work through the week. Our expectations and our standards are that we have a great week of preparation, regardless of who our competition is, whether it's an SEC competition or not. We need to be consistent in what we're doing, and that will be the challenge this week. The maturity will be on display in terms of how mature we are as a football team, and can we handle success? We had some success this weekend. How do we handle it this week in our preparation? New Mexico is a challenge. We had Zach Arnett's defense and Mike Leach's team this weekend, and that defense is a handful. We saw it. Mississippi State was difficult to handle, especially in the first half. They keep you off balance, and Zach came from the Rocky Long tree, and we go against a Rocky Long defense this weekend. It is a good defense, and they have caused people fits. They're a defense that is in structure, has some similarities. They're allowing 13.5 points per game. Third down, they're outstanding. I think they're 5th in the country. They forced 7 turnovers this past weekend, 7. So you can imagine, I think top 5 in the country in terms of, forcing turnovers. So this is a defense that will give you problems. If you're not executing at a high level, they'll turn this game into a close game. There's no doubt about that. Offensively, and again, obviously, head coach Danny Gonzalez does a really good job. He's a noted offensive mind. He's always been really good as a play caller, and they're it's a pistol midline option offense, ball control. They've got some talented players on the perimeter, and it's one where obviously they're playing. Obviously good defense and very opportunistic on the offensive side of the ball. So Kendrick is the quarterback from Kansas. He transferred in, athletic, and we'll have to do a really good job with our option responsibilities. But again, I think, as I mentioned, a lot of this is in our preparation and consistency and how we handle things going into this weekend. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Glenn West, Go 247. You talked about the conditioning of your team through 4 quarters on Saturday. I'm just curious, is this kind of the point in the season where that really gets to show just how good of conditioning you guys are in, and just what does that look like in season in terms of keeping those guys as physically healthy, I guess, when you get to SEC play?
Yeah, I think, it's how you practice. We don't condition during practice or after practice, so it's a matter of, managing the practice structure itself, that you are getting your team to a workload that the games become easier. And then you start to see that in the third and fourth quarter where you can wear down your opponents. We're weight training during the season, and it's not a maintenance program. It's a program that, we're not putting our guys in a compromising position where they've got too much weight on the bar, but we're being powerful with our weight training and really intentional about trying to get our guys stronger during the season. So we want to continue to add strength. We want to continue to condition our players, but also with an eye towards making sure that their workload is such that they can be their best on Saturday.
Hey, Brian. First off, we didn't get a check last week on Anthony Bradford's status. Just want to see where he's at. But also, with the tempo stuff, is it as simple as, hey, tempo's working, play tempo, or is there other considerations as to why maybe you pick your spots and haven't done it in the first half as much?
Anthony is activated for this week. He's in a competitive situation with the guard position, but certainly we'll have an opportunity to earn playing time this week. Yeah, it's not as simple as just say, hey, let's go tempo, and all of our problems have been erased. I think I kind of alluded to some of them, having 3 different, offensive line combinations, require a lot of communication. We had 8 penalties, 6 of them were unforced, and 5 of them were communication errors. So we've got to clean up communication, cadence, rhythm, and so tempo takes some of that out of, the mix, so to speak, and that you can just go fast and not have to, worry about it. I think at times we have to think in terms of correcting the gross errors instead of trying to correct everything at the line of scrimmage. We've been a little bit maybe too detailed, and we just got to play. And then when you play a faster pace, there are some things you just can't account for. And I think maybe we've overcoached it a little bit, and I think we're trying to find our sweet spot as to, what are the things that we just have to live with and really do a good job of getting the ball out of our hands.
What are your assessments of Jaden so far this year? You were very specific in the postgame about opening up. How does he take that coaching in the game, during the week, et cetera, and how does he take it to the field? Yeah,
I love coaching somebody that is open to the dialogue during the game. You can have conversations with him during the game, and he can make the corrections in game. Some can't, and so you just don't even try to do those things. But Coach Sloan is talking much more conceptual. I'm trying to deal with some technical things, on the sideline, because sometimes I don't have the big conceptual picture from the sideline. So, he's handling both ends of that, where, Coach Sloan is talking about some concepts and some different looks, and I'm trying to really focus on some specific things. And, I think that that's worked out pretty good, and he handles both of those conversations really well.
Right, on your left. How did Emory Jones do in his first start? Are you still rotating on the offensive line?
I would say that he exceeded expectations. Look, he's not going to be perfect, but he's active. He's got great feet, and he is a great open field tackler.
Wilson Hunter from The Advocate. You talked about this a little bit after the game in terms of how Kayshawn getting double covered is opening things up for Malik. At the same time, do you feel like you guys need to do some different things to get Kayshawn going, or is that just going to kind of have to maybe live with that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of both. I mean, I think, look, this is never one-sided, right? It's never all on the player. It's never all on the coach at this level. I think you have to look at both, right? We got to look at how we can move him around and utilize his talents, and then he's got to continue to work hard and work on his skill set, and continue to work hard in practice. So it's always going to be that at this level, at the next. It's always going to be on the player. It's always going to be on the coaching staff to work together. This is working together as a team. Is how you get better. It's never just one side of it. So absolutely, we've got to do our job as coaches to move him around and be creative, and he's got to do his end of continue to work hard and be the best player he can be.
Hey, Coach, here in the middle. After looking at the film, what were your thoughts on some of the special teams that you had, the decisions to catch punts, the punt return coverage, the kick return coverage late in the game? I know there was a hold called on that late kickoff, but did you still see a breakdown there?
Yeah, so a couple things. The kickoffs are a direct result of the kicks. The kicks that have been returned have been line drives down the middle of the field. That is going to compromise your coverage. We don't have a chance to get off blocks and get properly covered. Now, can we get off some blocks and make some plays? Absolutely, and we've got to be better there. So this is not all on the kicker. However, it does expose you with those types of kicks. As it relates to the fielding of the punts, we got to coach better. I mean, and I've got to be involved in that and make sure that those guys are absolutely clear in terms of they cannot move their heels, past the 10-yard line. Greg obviously lost track of where he was. He's a young player. We've got to do a better job coaching him there. The one that he tried to field, he felt like it hit one of our players. Look, when you're looking at it, it's close, but again, that goes to awareness. And maybe we could have coached him better if he saw some Mississippi State players, moving towards the ball. Maybe that's the cue that he falls on it. If he doesn't see a Mississippi State player going to it, maybe he stays away from it. And I think we can do a better job coaching that too.
Hey, Coach, right here. How do you think the run game has been improving kind of steadily so far this year, and how impressed are you with your backs?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think last week we talked about, run efficiency and where is that as it relates to, week 2. And I said, I really can't tell you until we start SEC play. Our run efficiency was much better. When we needed to run the football, we were able to do that, to close out the football game. So I'm pleased with the efficiency of being able to run the ball in short yardage situations, to close out games inside, the 10-yard line, what we call, our white and blue zone. We've been effective running the football there. And then our backs are kind of what we expected. They're all going to contribute in some fashion, and I think they all did. I think they all lended themselves to, what we're doing from an offensive perspective. Getting Emory back helped. You saw him catch the ball out of the backfield. He was really good in pass protection. And I think he'll get better as he continues to get reps, and he'll add to the depth of that position.
Ryan, kind of circling back to the special teams question, as you said, maybe it was an effort. He thought that something happened, so he's trying to jump on the ball. Player feels the punt, maybe trying not to let them get the good field position. Can you live with or accept errors that involve effort? I mean, can
absolutely.
You live a little better?
Yeah, as he came off, and my first reaction is, "What are you doing?" Right? And as he explained his position on it, you really can't come back with anything else other than, okay, let's take a look at it on film. Maybe we can help you with that decision making in the future. But he's trying to make the right play, and those are about as gray as they come within special teams. Moving off your spot at the 10-yard line, that's a little bit different. That has to be coached, and there's got to be more discipline in those situations. So there are going to be some of those gray areas. We just need to be better all over the place, and that falls on Brian, that falls on me. We all have to do a better job then, and our players have to commit themselves and understand how important special teams is. It was a great play by Slade, and the hang time was terrific. It was 4.5 plus, gave us the opportunity to be in position to make the play necessary to obviously get a big play.
Hey, Coach. Liam Haley from LSU Sports here. With how well Howard Perkins played as an edge rusher on Saturday, can we expect him to see a bigger role for him, let's say in edge rushing or blitzing in general?
Yeah, I think there's a role for him. Certainly, he adds, something to our pass rush, and we certainly saw that. That's why he, got the opportunity to play out on the edge a little bit, and you saw him inside with some blitzing inside. I think we found a niche for him in terms of where he can help us, and I would say that. You're accurate in that he can continue to evolve into that position. Now, is he going to beat out B.J. Ojolari at that position? I don't think so. But he certainly can lend some support to that position and certainly some dime and nickel packages.
We've seen some personnel adjustments on defense, some schematic different looks. How would you assess the job Matt and his staff are doing kind of developing this defense as the season unfolds?
Yeah, I think the ability to put the pieces in place, moving Jay down has obviously benefited us greatly. Greg going back to the safety position has added a communication level that's really benefited us greatly. I think that in itself has solidified the back end for us. We've been able to rotate in corners and give guys the necessary rest in that end of things. So, and then we're mixing things up. We're not lining up with one post safety the whole time. We're lining up and showing one post and playing too high and vice versa. So, I think schematically we're where we need to be. The nature of having a guy like B.J. Ojolari and Ali Gay, where you can play 4 down and 3 down and not change personnel, is quite difficult sometimes. And we saw that against a very veteran and skilled offense. Quite frankly, they didn't know what they were getting from snap to snap.
Hey, Coach. James Lejeune from Gridiron Football. I was just going to ask you about Malik Neighbors and just what can you say about his mentality just from the first game coming off of the 2 punts against Florida State, and then just actually translating that and making some huge plays for y'all down the stretch against Mississippi State, especially in the 3rd and 4th downs.
Yeah, it's I think we hear this all the time, and that he has he's been able to focus and refocus. He's been able to move on to the next play, and that is a great quality to have, especially in the game of football. You're going to have some adversity, and he's had it. He's dealt with it, and he's moved on, and he's stronger for it. He's been really good. We've seen his ability to make dynamic plays for us on the offensive side of the ball, and I just think from that perspective, he's really grown.
Coach, what was your evaluation of Brooks and Ward making that switch in the secondary? And then do you have any update on Ward after taking that little knock after the interception?
Yeah, we were looking for better communication. Jay is a very active player, physical player. We saw that, with the play this weekend. Greg is too, but, Greg is veteran player that is used to playing back at that safety position and a very good communicator. So it was just getting to know our personnel better and really plugging them in where we felt that we would be, better served, whether it was, on the offensive line, whether Frazier's a guard, whether he's a tackle, whether Emory Jarvis is better at guard or tackle. We're just trying to get to know our personnel and find out what the best lineup is, and that was kind of, what that was. Yeah, I mean, he was a little banged up, but, we expect to have him for this weekend.
Brian, ideally, do you want Jaden Daniels to run less, or are you okay with him taking on that much of a workload running the football?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we evaluate when he runs, we want to see that if it was within the progression and it was a really good coverage, or maybe that play wasn't great against this coverage, or we got beat at the a particular position and he got flushed, versus you turn down a potential high-low read and you took off, right? And so that's what we're trying to evaluate, and it's really a little bit of both. I think there's still growth there where we can stay a little bit more patient and a little bit more locked in on the progression, and then there are sometimes the really dynamic runs that there was just nothing there and he made something happen. So you want to be careful where you go, hey, you're running too much, and then when he needs to be dynamic, he's not. So we have to be very careful. And along the way, keep coaching him to really do a great job of getting through his progressions and seeing the things necessary that allows us to be balanced in both.
Brian, obviously you were really high on Mason Taylor in the preseason. Just how would you evaluate what he's done so far? What is it kind of about him and his skill set that's allowed him to play and sort of take over that role as a freshman?
I think he's very confident in his ability, so I think it starts with confidence first. I think second, it's a pass-catching tight end, a guy that has really good hands, his ability to run after the catch, extremely athletic. So I think it's skill set, confidence, and he's put on the necessary size to, go into traffic and make some plays. We didn't find him very well on Saturday. Maybe a couple of freshman mistakes. He stepped out of bounds on an arrow route where, he needs to know where he is. But, those, I'm okay with those. That's a learning curve. And those are great opportunities to point out to a freshman that he's not going to make that same mistake twice. But I would say confidence and then just the physical attributes that he has.
Hey, Coach, down here. I was sort of curious as to how do you think John Emory sort of fared in his first game back, and how was he feeling sort of after the game after not having played for over a year?
He was elated after the game that he actually played football for the first time in a long time. He was sore, he was tired, and I think he had all the feelings that he remembered in playing. So I think the post was really good. He was really nervous going in. But I thought he, afforded himself very well. I thought he ran with pretty good vision for a guy that hadn't played in a while. I talked about rust. There was some. But, again, I think all in all, caught the football, played with low pads, and he'll get better. So I thought a good first game for him.
Coach, you have four right here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
In the front. You have 4 place kickers on your roster. How have you seen the recruiting landscape for kickers change over the years, and have you ever changed kickers mid-season?
I think I have changed kickers in mid-season. I'm not interested in changing kickers right now. I think our kicking situation is much more technical than it is anything else. We just got to clean up some technique. But we've got a scholarship kicker as well. We've got a transfer from Northwestern who's talented as well in Finnison. So Dybert, Finnison, Ramos, Peyton Todd's a really good punter. I mean, we're pretty deep in kickers. Bramlett obviously, punted the ball very well. So I really think that there's some great depth there, but we're not going to say there's never competition at the position. If we feel like, we need to make a change in a particular area, for example, we got to change kickoffs versus field goals, extra point, we'll consider all of those things for the betterment of the football team. Great. Thank you.
Head coach Brian Kelly getting his team ready to take on New Mexico coming up this Saturday, 6:30. Again, going back over the win over Mississippi State, 31-16. Take a time out. We come back. We'll give you some notes for broadcasting this week to catch the Tigers. We'll do that right after this.
Together, we are partners, setting a new standard for health. Together, we prove that no matter how battle-tested we are, our spirit remains undefeated. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are creating transformational change and impacting Louisiana with a new standard for healthcare, research, and education. Together, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU are champions for Louisiana. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU.
Hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking for your new Fast Play games, but really, how fast are they?
How fast do you say? Faster than a... Even faster than...
Whoa! Hey, that's fast.
Introducing new Fast Play games from the lottery. Get in between for $1. Rev up with $2 Super 7s. Bet on Black Cherry Bingo. Get the winning score with $5 Saints. And finally, it's a party with $10 Cash Extravaganza. Win up to $50,000. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In the SEC, we sweat the small stuff. The attention to tradition. The preparation for competition. The smallest things can have the biggest impact on this field and a whole host of other fields. To shine among the brightest stars, you have to sweat the small stuff. Because here, it just means more.
This is the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP.
Couple of news and notes before we finish out on this Monday. Again, congratulations to B.J. Ojulari and Jay Ward, named earlier today SEC Defensive Lineman and SEC Defensive Player of the Game. Coming up Saturday, LSU will take on New Mexico inside Tiger Stadium. Again, kickoff just after 6:30. Later this week, chance to hear more from Coach Brian Kelly on The Brian Kelly Show, live from TJ Ribs. We'll get that underway Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Then on Saturday, we'll get things cranked up 4:30 with LSU Game Day from Tiger One Village. Hunt Palmer, Marlon Favorite, Brandon Taylor will be there to set the table. Then Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush will join me for the call of the action between the Lobos and the Tigers. One final note, the kickoff for LSU's first road game in SEC play coming up October 1st at Jordan-Hare Stadium was announced earlier today. That one will get started between Auburn and LSU at 6 o'clock. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, as always, to Gordy Rush, and we'll be back here next Monday for the Brian Kelly Press Conference presented by ASAP.
This has been the Brian Kelly Press Conference, delivered by ASAP, the official mobile ordering partner of LSU Athletics. Download the ASAP app today.